Welcome back to Mets Daily, your newest home for daily Mets YouTube content. I'm your host, Jake Brown, at Jake Brown Radio on all social media. Make sure you smash that thumbs up below on this video. We appreciate it. Yesterday on my birthday and the Pete Alonso signing, we hit over 1,000 subscribers, so thank you for the birthday wishes. Thank you to the Mets for ending the Pete Alonso saga. We'll talk about it today, and then we can move on and get pumped for this Mets season, which pretty much means the roster is complete. Of course, hit that subscribe to the channel. Share the channel with your family, your friends, your dogs, your cats. Let them all know to come on down to Mets Daily. It's free. Just hit subscribe and comment below. What do you think? Now, if you missed the emergency video, we dropped a video close to midnight last night, and Pete Alonso is finally back with the New York Mets. The never-ending saga ends. 2 years, $54 million. Now, again, I'll go over the contract details in a second, but like I said last night, I think I'm very happy this is over. Yes, I was on the team the Mets should move on, but I'm happy it's done. And I think both sides really got a fair deal. And I think something that's getting overlooked is the fact that Pete Alonso ended up a real winner in this situation. When I think we all thought he was going to be a loser, the signs all pointed to him getting a lot less money than he expected. If you watch his 2024 season, you knew he wasn't getting a 5, 6, 7-year deal. I think the hope was at the most he would get 4. Instead, he gets 2. But what's important in this is he's making $30 million overall, and we'll break down the numbers in a second. But he's making $30 million in 2025 after having the worst year of his life in 2024. This guy just got paid and has the chance to have a bounce-back year and try and get paid for years to come. This is his chance to write his redemption story. And I put out my first story on the Mets on SI site about the offseason, the grades, and also a second story about why Pete came out a massive winner in this situation. I think a lot of people think he ends up losing. Yes, he loses because he didn't get that 7-year deal, but he is paid now higher than Vladimir Guerrero Jr. for 2025, Bryce Harper, Matt Olson, Christian Walker, Freddie Freeman, and he's not as good as them. So this is a huge win for Boris. It's a huge win for Pete. What a deal he just got. So let's break down the numbers here. So it comes out to his what it's on the, cap, the payroll is $30 million. It's a $20 million. Okay, let me break this down. It's very confusing. Pete Alonso is essentially on the books for $20 million because it's a $10 million signing bonus. But towards the luxury tax purposes, it counts as $27 million AAV because he signed a 2-year $54 million. So it's going on the luxury tax books as $27 million. On the payroll structure per se, it goes as $20 million with that signing bonus. 2026, if he were to opt in, he will make $24 million, still putting him in the top 5 amongst all first basemen, which is why I think this works out great for him, because even if he does have a bad year, he'll still be paid handsomely in 2026 and have another year at redemption. So the short-term gain here for Pete Alonso is absolutely remarkable. I know he didn't get as many years as he wanted, but short-term, it's great. He had a 3-year, $71 million offer from the Mets as well, reportedly, that he declined. That would have paid him $27 million, so $3 million less than 22 and 22. Listen, I don't think that's a bad offer either. $3 million less for the first year and, get 3 years on the books. I'm a little bit surprised, but I think Boris probably said to him, hey, go out and be the polar bear that we know, and you'll get a lot more than that next winter. And maybe he's right. Now, what the problem for the Mets is, this essentially cost the Mets $59 million with the luxury tax. The Mets payroll is now projected by Fangraphs to be around $325 million, which is second in baseball behind the Dodgers' $380 million. The luxury tax threshold becomes 110% for every dollar when you hit $301 million. So the Mets were just under that, and it's at 90%. Then it goes to 110% for every dollar you spend after that. And that's where the Mets kind of get screwed here. That means Alonso, after the luxury tax, essentially for 2025 will cost the Mets just north of $59 million. So that's where you're thinking anyone you sign now, which it feels like they're not really going to add anyone else, is essentially costing you double. So that's where the Mets got to be a little bit more frugal. I get everyone's like, endless pockets, Cohen, but at some point you got to be a bit smart financially for the future of the franchise. It's not just endless. So when you look at it that way, it's not not great for the Mets that they got to pay $59 million, but obviously Cohen will foot that bill. But for Pete, man, I don't know. You got to be in love with this on both sides. The Mets can get out of this in a year, at the latest 2 years, And Pete's got, a chance to redeem himself and go out and try this song and dance again next year. So I think this is a win for all parties. And the Mets lineup got better. The Mets have one of the most potent lines in the sport. Where do you rank them? Dodgers are probably 1, Braves are 2, maybe the Rangers are 3, Mets are 4. But you could argue the Mets are a top 3, top 4 lineup in all of Major League Baseball now with Pete Alonso in it. And you got to be jumping for joy today if you're a Mets fan. I know ticket sales probably went up the wazoo today. People are ready for spring training. People who live in Florida are hyped up to be at spring training. This contract, a massive win here for the Polar Bear. And, when you look at Pete Alonso's numbers, he's got to improve upon that 2024 season. 240, 329 OBP, career worst 34 homers, career worst 88 RBIs, and he only hit 232 with runners in scoring position. 20 of his 34 homers were solo home runs. Only 14 were with guys on base. So he came up big when no one was on base, but he didn't come up as big with guys on base. That's a telling number when 20 of your 34 homers are with absolutely no one on. That's in spots that aren't as clutch, obviously, less RBI situations, and he's got to improve upon that. Like you see on Baseball Reference there, his track record, he clearly has done it before. He's bashed the homers. He's bashed the RBIs. He's 26 homers from tying Darryl Strawberry, 252 for the all-time Mets record, and 27 from breaking it. So sometime by the end of the summer, maybe July, August, at the latest September, if Pete's healthy, which, listen, knock on wood, he's been healthy his whole career, and that's one great thing about him. One of the great things about him is he doesn't get hurt much. He always plays. Pete can break this, and hopefully it happens at home. I would think the Mets try and line it up where he does it at home, but you never know with home runs. It might happen on the road. It would be awesome if he could do it in front of the fan base. And, if they have a homestand and he's either one short or tied and going for the record, those will be packed houses at Citi Field. And I think in general, Citi Field will be a packed house all season long because I think the hype is real around Metsland right now. And, the hype's real because we're starting to look at this lineup and we're like, oh, my God. Like, they have a lot of flexibility. And people are already fighting over, no, I want this guy batting third. I want him batting fourth. So let's kind of break down what it could look like. Again, this is the Jake Brown radio prediction. But Lindor and Soto are 1 and 2. I've seen people have Soto lower. Lindor and Soto are 1 and 2, period, stop, end of story. That's your 1 and 2 hitters. 3 and below is where you can kind of change it up. A lot of people want to say you want lefty, righty, then Nimmo, then Vientos 5. I like it, whether righties, lefties, however you want to do 3, 4. I like Vientos in the 3 hole because I think he serves as better protection for Juan Soto than Pete Alonso, who was a lot of boom or bust, with Alonso being 4. I like the chance of like second and third or first and second and Mark Vientos coming up because Vientos was very clutch last year. So I prefer Vientos in the 3 spot, Alonso 4. I put there against left-hand pitching. Maybe they flip-flop and have Alonso 3, Vientos 4. And then it gets interesting. Like Nimmo against righties, I put as 5, and against lefties, I put as 6. I have Winker as DH versus righties hitting 6, and Marte versus lefties hitting 5. And then 7 through 9, Alvarez maybe at 7. McNeil versus righties at 8. And then I like Luis Angel Acuna to be on this roster and start every time a left-hander's pitching and hitting in that 8 spot, maybe 9 spot for the Mets at second. And then you expect Siri to get a majority of the starts, but I put as well Taylor in there. They could flip-flop. I could have put Taylor at 2 against righties, but Siri, Taylor at the bottom of that order. But when you look up and down this lineup, you don't see a ton of speed, but you see a lot of power. Lindor, a 30-homer guy, projected to be just short of 30. Soto, the ability to hit 45. You hope he hits 35 at the very least. Mark Vientos has the ability to hit 35. You hope Vientos hits 30 at the least. Pete Alonso, you're hoping at the least he's hitting 35, but preferably 40, because that's what his track record's shown. 34 was his career low, and that was his worst year of his life. You hope Pete Alonso is back to being a 40-homer hitter. In that cleanup spot, Brandon Nimmo, 20, 25 homers you expect. Winker and Marte combined, you're expecting 15 to 20. Alvarez, you're hoping he could be back to that 20, 25 homer guy he was in 2023. McNeil Acuna, you're not going to get more than maybe 15, 20. But even McNeil Acuna, you're going to get potentially 20 between them. And then Siri, Taylor, you could get 25 out of those guys. Siri in 2023 had 25 homers in 101 games. You have a 20-homer hitter at every spot almost in this lineup. Like, this Mets lineup is, not lacking power. And I think that's what's exciting. Anyone can come up and hit a ding-dong home run at any point in the game, and that is scary. That is dangerous. And whichever order you like of those, or if you have a different order, it's fun for Carlos Mendoza that he can mix and match. And none of these guys have to be concrete in those spots. You could move guys around. It's not like you need to be there. I think the needs are Lindor and Soto at the top, but even if he said, no, I'd rather Soto hit third against left-hand pitching, you'll live with that. If you want to put Vientos 2, Soto 3 against lefties, I'm perfectly fine with that. I don't think the order necessarily determines how many games the Mets win, but I trust Carlos Mendoza. He did a fantastic job in his first year, and look at all that flexibility. He's got the two options with Winker and Marte. He's got the two options with Siri and Taylor. He's got the two options with McNeil and Acuna. Torrens is not a bad backup. I like the Mets to maybe add another backup catcher, but Alvarez is going to get a majority of the starts. You have Mauricio potentially at some point this season. There is a lot of excitement about this Mets roster and what they have in store, so get fired up. What the Alonso signing does mean, it probably means the end of Candelita, unfortunately, which we talked about. According to my guy, Pat Regazzo, my now colleague, who I've been texting today, is of SI, where I put out my first two stories today. You can check those out on the Mets on SI site, part of Sports Illustrated. OMG might be no more. The Mets reportedly, it wasn't a 2-year, they made a 1-year offer, and apparently he is seeking a 1-year offer. So at the very least, they're in line with the 1 year. Now the question is, how much does he want? I'm assuming Jose Iglesias might want $8 million. The Mets now, remember, because of the luxury tax, $8 million for them is really $16 million plus. So they're going to pay double for a guy who might not play a lot. And Jose Iglesias is probably thinking to himself, I'm going to go to the Mets and be, a part-time infielder, and then I'm not going to be able to cash out for 2026. So, Iglesias is in a spot where he's going to want to play and maybe worry about cashing out for beyond 2025. So unfortunately, I don't think this gets done, but it is encouraging that he is seeking a 1-year deal because maybe they can find a price that works for both sides and the Mets can bring their ultimate aura of vibes, musical star in Candelita Jose Iglesias back in the fold, because I do think he could serve as a really good mentor for these young players, for Mauricio, for Acuna, for these young guys, and be an integral piece. And listen, maybe write another song as well that helps the Mets through a summer and gets them through it all. And he's their, Latin pop star. So we'll see. But this looks like the roster that they have right now, and that's something we'll break down the rest of the days. There's not going to be any more, are they going to get this guy or this? I don't think Dylan Cease or any of those kind of trades are happening. This is the Mets roster. I'm Jake Brown at Jake Brown Radio. Follow me on Twitter, X, Instagram, TikTok at Jake Brown Radio. My YouTube, subscribe there. Subscribe to Mets Daily right now. If you're not, hit that subscribe below. Let us know in the comments. What do you think about the lineup? What do you want to see? What kind of order do you want? What do you think about the structure of the deal? Let us know. What do you think about Jose Iglesias? Do you think he comes back? Smash that thumbs up, comment, subscribe. We'll be back tomorrow on a happy Friday of Super Bowl weekend. We'll give a little Super Bowl prediction as well right here on Mets Daily. Thanks for watching.